let's get going. I forgot yesterday morning. Good morning, guys. This is Simon with toughtrader.com doing the live market preview for the 18th of January. Okay, I was a little bit off yesterday. I plan to come in and hit my marks today. Important disclaimer, reminder for all traders and investors, the webinar is for educational purposes only. Past performance is not indicative of future results. You can lose a lot of money trading futures. Have a risk trading plan. Do not follow me blindly. Please, please, please do not follow me blindly. And let's see if I was going to have anything else to point out. No, that's really it. Have a risk trading plan. More important than a good trading plan is a good risk management plan, period, end of sentence. Guys, is audio good? Guys in the room, can y'all hear me okay? Mic check really quick. Ron, Bill, anybody? Let me make sure the audio is working here really quick. Audio seems to be working. Screen seems to be working. Okay, I'm going to assume that we are working okay. I have not heard otherwise, and all my mic feedback seems to be indicating that, yes, that is correct. Unless this is not working. It is. Okay, we're good to go. Let's see here. Okay, I'm getting absolutely no feedback from anyone. I'm going to assume this is working okay and keep rolling. There's an awful lot of people not in the room. Hey, Peter, can you hear me okay? Or Ron or anyone? Let me check real quick. It's just an unusually small number of people in the room. Hey, Alex, obviously, so everyone's getting it. Can anyone hear me? Alex, mic check. Oh, this is frustrating. Okay, I'm going to assume we're working. No one has said otherwise. So I'm just going to continue trucking. Yeah, you can hear me. Okay, cool. Great. So Globex high and low really quick. We are obviously gapping down. Let's get an ES really quick. ES Globex high was $28.08. Pretty straightforward there, just on top. The one thought I have about ES is that a retest? You know, when a lot of times we'll make a high and we'll come all the way. It looks like we rolled over and we'll come all the way back to retest it. 27.99.75. And I'm going to go look where we had our last best buyers. I bet that's going to be pretty interesting here in a second. And so my wonder is if we've just come all the way back to retest on the mirror image move, and then we roll over afterwards. It's just a thought. Obviously, I don't know one way or the other. Thank you, H18. Let's get that in really quick. So we're showing risk off before market. I don't know if there was news to drive us lower. I really don't care one way or the other. 67.98. 67.98. Let's get that in. Hold on a second here. 67. I do not want to draw another line on this thing, but apparently I'm going to. 67.98. Why is this not format? 6798. 25. There we go. Right inside the white zone. Blue style. There we go. And the Globex high was way up there. Someone got smoked. 68.3650. 68.3650 would put us right at Wednesday's high. Interesting. You would have thought they could have taken out that high overnight, or they would have taken out the high overnight. Okay, so a couple of things going into the day, thoughts that occurred to me. First of all, the one timing was really important. I want to cover that again, even though I did it in the trade review from last night. just to make sure everyone sees this from a 30-minute standpoint on NQ, I owe Ron a public apology because he pointed it out yesterday and I disagreed with him, and I was completely, utterly, and totally wrong. Okay, so he was right, I was wrong. Not that it's about being right or wrong, but I just didn't acknowledge the fact. I didn't see what he saw for whatever reason. I didn't process it, and he was correct. So let's go through this process. It's important for your swing trades to get this part of the process down and operating. This is where your large swings come out of, and where your large P&L comes from. So Peter, especially for you, notice we open up, we trade inside the first 30 minutes on the second bar. This is going back to Tuesday, right? And then we start one timing to the downside. One time is decided by the inability to trade above the prior 30 minutes. One timing, one timing, one timing. No cigar here, right? Here's where we break the one timing, right? Here's where we have the 50-60 retrace. Actually, you get it 2 times, right? And then just for good measure, we get one more 50-60 retrace into our strongest seller, which was sitting right over here from yesterday afternoon. So we tested back into our strongest seller on the backside test. Sorry about that. Okay. And then we start one time. Notice the one timing continues from Tuesday afternoon into Wednesday. You can see that we formed this wedge right here, right? Higher highs, higher lows, right? So remember, new high, right? So now we've broken our last swing high. If this is a 5-minute chart, I would definitely be looking for the 50-60 retrace against this low. If this were an intraday 5-minute chart, I'd be all over this, right? So the same rule applies to a 30-minute chart. And then we start one timing to the upside, right? Notice that therefore, when do we end one timing to the upside is when we can trade underneath the prior 30-minute low. That's 68.19. Now, flip your picture around, right? And look at this from we're going to close this really quick. And if you flip this over to I just blew that chart up. That's all right. Thank you. Sorry. Okay, 68.19, right? Here is 68.19. Notice it's backside tested. We break unquestionably. We trade below 68.19, right? We trade below 68.19. Does a retrace. What's the retrace? Watch the mechanics of this, right? 50-60 retrace. We stop the one timing. We roll down, right? Do one more test of the 68.19, and then finally roll to the downside. I've got to fix this chart that I blew up on the other computer real quick. Thank you, H. There we go. Okay. So long story short, if you were day trading yesterday, right, and you were looking for the short, you could have waited till all the way over here to go, hey, my short, we've just stopped the one timing. So what's your entry? Your entry is on the backside test. Your stop's either entry on the start of the pattern with a stop against the high, or you wait for the backside test and then you catch the roll to the downside, right? You can see that we're making lower highs and lower lows. So what's the first clue this morning that something's changed? I want to see the market be able to get above 68.10, right? And then do a retrace and make a higher low. That'll let me know that we're going to push up, right? In all likelihood, we're in a massive bull market, right? So buyers are just dying to get into the market. That's all there is to it. So my bias and what I tell myself before I come in is, look, I'm looking for my strongest long side setups, and I am trying to ignore, right? Or my short setups are going to have to look obvious to me. I'm going to either have to see it, or I'm going to scalp the daylights out of it. I'm not going to try and push my short setups. I still think they work. I just am going to be doubly sure when I enter my trades that I get my short set up correctly, and I'm going to be doubly patient with my longs to try to make them push, right? Because why? The market keeps pushing against us from the long side. It keeps pushing to the upside. you don't have any situation where we're just tumbling out of bed and keep falling and falling and falling. Wednesday or Tuesday, let's say Thursday, Tuesday was the only day where in weeks, we've had sustained downside trading. I don't want to be part of that process. So next, let's go through quickly what we have to see today in order so that we have an idea of what the market will look like. Okay, so let's start with NQ since we're already there. Have your notes ready to go. Number one, here, let's erase all lines. Okay, we are trading at 68.06, 68.07, excuse me, right? We have to, and I did this in the video last night. Again, we're just going to go briefly through the notes. 68.11 and a quarter. If we hold above 68.11 and a quarter, meaning we open up, open drive higher, and hold above 68.11 and a quarter, look for the market to push out. Okay, you've got to be underneath 68.11 and a quarter to get any kind of downside rotation. Very easy formula there, right? Number two, we're now in 2 days of balance. See, when these days are side by side, range has expanded, but we are in balance. Make no mistake about it. We traded inside prior day's range. Because we traded inside prior day's range, the numbers that hold the biggest importance are 67, 28, and 3/4. In order to move lower out of balance, you got to get below 67, 28. In order to break out, you got to get above 68, 46. Otherwise, we are still within and consolidating inside of Tuesday's down day, right? Next important area. Notice the volume point of control and the TPO point of control are spread out. Normally, they are stuck like this, right together. TPO point of control, volume point of control. When they're together, you have more buying power concentrated in one area. You get a stronger result. When they are spread out like this, not so much. But importantly, for the most part, on NQ, the chart is repaired once we trade 67.89.50. It does not mean we reverse there, but below 67.89.50 and holding above 67.28, I am looking for reversal patterns all the way. I am looking for big reversal patterns, meaning if we're one time into the downside and we stop on the half-hour time frame, if I can get above my last best seller and I have a big seller at the low, I am looking for this area, and this area in particular where we had this big volume build yesterday, I am looking for this to hold, right? Be constructive. If we can even get to that, my figuring is we're going to come in and re-auction this 89, and then once we finish with the 89, we're going to get back above and then continue with our march because it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that part out, right? So what flips my opinion? So we're opening inside. What flips my opinion? If we come in here at the 67.89.50 and we don't respond back up, I'm going to look for constructive counter trades back up. And even if we get down into 67.28, I am not going to look for shorts down here. The short is going to have to come down. Short's going to have to look like this. Of course, I say that I allow for intraday setups, but theoretically, before we start, right, we're going to have to get down here. And then when we bang up against here, I'm going to have to get short setups via delta pushes, volume pushes, or something like that to push down. But I'm initially going to look for that push back up against this area or better, right, before I buy into the short argument. We'll see how the market we'll see how the market lays out from there, right? This is all poorly auctioned. My guess is when we repair this area right here, that's an awful color, we will be done. Okay, so remember, most importantly, my process, getting above or below my last best buyer or my last best seller. I am burning the first half hour because it is simply easier on me to burn that first half hour and then come in and pick up the pieces. I generally do better with that, so I will miss any setups that occur beforehand. Now, let's go back one more time. And let's go look through ES real quick and then jump. ES has been a harder trade. Most of the guys I have trading ES are now trading NQ because the opportunities, that's just how the opportunities are laying out. Okay, so if you look at ES, we had a poor high on Tuesday. That poor high has been replaced. We have a decent high up here, right? You'll notice that we are opening inside of value, prior day's value. That generally argues for an open auction, not an open drive. The value area is mega wide there. Why is this doing this? This is not what I want. There we go. The value area is mega wide. The range is expanded. We're essentially stayed inside the range, but just for a second yesterday. Just like yesterday, I said that this chart needed to be repaired right up to here, And we got that done, obviously, through here, and the auction was complete. The market now needs to be repaired on NQ to approximately right here, 2788.75. And I would expect responsive buyers. We're obviously a long way away from that, right? This is the area for multiple reasons. And I said on the Twitter stream, I missed one other thing. A double distribution tends to provide resistance, not always, but you will notice yesterday, this is where I wanted to short, even though I didn't take my trade. Excuse me, on NQ. On ES, you will notice if you break this down into individual periods, that this area, the second distribution, is what needed to be broken above in order to break out. If you go back and look at the individual trades, even though it looks like we were pushing up, this is where the resistance was. You can see in the first half hour as we pushed into that second distribution, that's where we were getting the rolls back to the downside, right? So for today, with that piece of knowledge, right, the second distribution right down here, I'm going to highlight it so you can see it, right? Really everything from here down to here. This is an important area and likely to provide support. It's a double distribution. That second distribution is likely to find responsive buyers. If I'm an ES trader, that's where I'm focusing. On NQ, I want to point out the same pattern I think we had, which is correct. Double distribution, second distribution should provide support, just like yesterday at 27.91. The second distribution up there, although this is a weaker pattern on NQ. That's where the second distribution was from a time standpoint. Did provide resistance initially for the backside test. You'll notice that we filled in this hole yesterday. See how we filled in this hole right here? And then we were able to continue higher until we completed the auction up. Again, right here, completed the auction up. And you can see then we rolled back down. Okay. So for today, I'm looking for we're opening inside balance. So I'm looking for two-sided trade, right? Open auction. That means the market's going to rotate up and down, back and forth, just like it did yesterday morning. We have an example of that. Right? If you look at yesterday morning's open, we just chop back and forth, right? Because we opened inside value. I expect a similar open unless we just simply open and open drive higher and they resume from yesterday. But I'm going to assume the two-sided open. I'm going to let the first half hour burn, and I'm going to start looking for setups, right? Same thing on NQ, excuse me, on ES. We opened, two-sided trade, and then about 10:30, we broke out into a trend day up, right? So the last piece, and this is for guys in the room, and then guys on, I'm not looking for a down day today. My figuring is either squaring where we balance throughout the day, or well, I'm looking for squaring. I'm not looking for anything else. Tomorrow's OPEX. They're usually going to try and just lock it into a price at some point today and then square up in front of the options expiration from an institutional standpoint, right? Let us insert. I wouldn't be surprised to see them try to buy it right out of the gate, quite frankly. But negative 474 on the tick out of the gate. So I want to look at one other thing from yesterday. Let me switch this chart over. Let me fix this real quick. Inside the white zone opening on Russell, as long as we don't close behind on that first 5 minutes, if we rebound and hold that, I would look for continuation back up on the Russell. Just FYI. And then immediate responsive buyers in NQ, which is not a shock, and trading above value area high, which we just discussed, right? So going and looking at the 5-minute delta bars, right, from yesterday, let's see what we have down here. My last best buyer yesterday afternoon was right here, okay? I've got to get underneath this guy, okay? I got to get underneath 68.04 to even start getting any kind of reasonable push to the downside, right? You've got to beat this guy. Once you get behind this guy, you'll have a good group of trapped sellers, okay? My last best seller yesterday was I need a way to highlight this, but I think it's this guy right here. 67.88 to 67.75, which again lines up with where we were looking for. That's just, why do I have two white zones there? Hold on a second. Something's wrong. Why do I have, this is the white zone, and this makes sense, and that's the TPO point of control, so that makes sense. I don't know why I had this highlighted. I meant to create a zone here. So guys, correction, I meant to have a zone here, and it should be 10 points wide, and it should be yellow. Okay, so for guys in the room, that's a yellow zone. For guys who are not in the room, the white zone's just slightly weaker than the yellow zones are slightly weaker than the white zones. Okay, but 67.88, that was my last best seller. And let's see where else I had. My strongest seller of the day was, and my strongest seller of the day was actually the opening bar right here, which puts us again at 67.88. And you can see we backside tested 67.82. So I expect that 88, 67.80, the bottom of that white zone to get, sorry, you can't see this, but I will fix it so you can. I expect the bottom of this 67.88 to 67.79 to get defended from a delta standpoint. And if you look on top, right, where was our last best buyer on top? Was, it's either this guy, right, which we're testing into, but my guess is this 574, this guy right here, and he's trapped now, right? So look to play against him. If you're looking for a short, this is who you're playing against with a stop above the swing high. And I'd go and break that down into a 25-tick range bar to get specifically where they're at inside of there. But we basically just retested this overnight and pushed back in. This should be the area in general where we reject from. They may use this guy. Oh, let me see something. This guy's defending, but remember my theory, it's the buyers that defend stronger than the sellers. So I'd rather defend against this guy than this guy. That was your strongest push down. And you can see they're defending, but these guys aren't overly motivated to defend, right? They'll throw in their hand. These guys are going to be grateful to be able to get out of their trade. If they're stuck here, they're going to be grateful to get out of their trade. And so that 68.23 to 68.24 is a key area for resistance in the first 30 minutes. Again, I'm burning the first 30 minutes, so have at it if you want it. It's not appealing to me. I just think there'll be more opportunities. And remember, all of this, if I had to choose one side to be on, I'd rather see us push down and set up the long for them to push up out of the long than I would to push up out of the short, right? And then the last piece is if we look from a – so remember, I'm looking for pushes down to get long, right? But you see who they defended against? Here's your strongest seller. They just defended when they came back up and tried to ensure the push back down. What I wanted was the strongest buyer, right, which was either this guy here. This was the best last buyer, was this guy right over here. We pushed it. You could argue that we pushed into him. I'd rather see us push into this guy right here and force him to defend, right, because he's probably trapped and he's probably going to offer out as soon as we hit him, right? So, and the point of control on that was all the way up at 68.30. So remember, keep that in mind. I'll go do a further analysis on that in a couple of minutes. And then below, the natural target, again, to get long is starting at 67.88 to 67.79. I would expect an attempted response. If we wash through there, watch out. It'll set us up to retest the bottom area of this should get defended the first time in, bottom line. Then lastly, again, all the analysis is on NQ because that's where all the opportunity is right now. ES is ES, pretty straightforward. So lastly from yesterday, right? See how this was our biggest push to the downside here, okay? And we pushed up against it. Then we made another huge attempt to roll to the downside. That roll against could not break our biggest push down. We trapped above. We backside tested, right? Again, this is a Wyckoff wave, right? Huge buying wave right here. See that right there? Just huge buying wave. So, but what am I looking for? I'm looking to test against. So number one, How is that information important to me is the first question we should be asking, right? This information is important to me because if I get underneath this wave at 67.77, if I get underneath this buy wave, everyone and their brother who bought there is going to be trapped. So I want in my notes, that tells me two things immediately from a strategic standpoint. If I can't get below 67.77.50 right now, right? 67.77.50. If I can't get below it, there is support there. These guys are going to defend, right? They put a lot of emotional energy. That's a lot of volume that went off in that rotation up, right? If I don't get underneath it, I'm probably going to push back up. You can see already this morning, what's our low here? Let me pull it up on NQH 18. NQH 18. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Hold on a second here. That is not the chart I wanted. NQH 18.D. Go. Hold on one sec. And the low was, again, we're pushing up on NQ already, not surprising. 68.09. Hold on one second. I will get that chart back for you. Okay, there it goes. Okay, so our low was 68.09, right? And look who we tested back into. We tested right back into that wave and found responsive buyers back up. Look where we're pushing into right now, right? So remember, this flips both ways. What did I say earlier about who we're going to want to test against? Right now I can flip over to this chart over here. Okay, we're pushing up. Here's my last best buyer, right? I expect rejection out of here. What is my risk? I have to stop against the high of the day. That is my risk. It's in the first 30 minutes. We're just turning positive, right? I expect rejection out against this bar. Why? Because I expect people will be tested in here, and it's difficult for them to continue to push through in a situation like that. Now, that being said, how do you balance that information, right? How do you balance that information? We're in a bull market. We haven't broken down. We're trading above value, right? So I switch charts over here and I go, hey, I've got a short here. Let's say I was going to trade the first 30 minutes, right? So let's say I throw a short in. We can do a hypothetical short, right? And say, okay, I'm going to short 68.24 and I'm going to short that against 68.34, right? Okay, so I already identified my last best buyer. I'm shorting against him. How am I going to treat that, right? Because it's clearly working, right? They've stopped, right? Look at your dome. They've stopped pushing up initially. We've tried to push through there. And what has everyone done over here psychologically? They've gone, hey, I want the hell out of my trade. I thought I had it right. I bought at 68.20 whatever. We were all the way down to 6,800 this morning or whatever the Globex low was. I was down 30 points. Please give me a refund, right? Now, we switch over back to our TPO, right? And on our TPO, you'll see that we're trading at 68.23. What's going on? I am above my 68.11 1/4, right? So if I'm shorting in this area, right? Remember, so the short time frame, what's the short time frame? Short time frame is this guy over here. This guy over here wants out. He's selling right now. If you want to know who's selling, that's who's selling. Those guys that are trapped in that bar. Short time frame, right? I'm the weakest hands. I want to get out. I bought late. Clearly, anyone who was buying up there, why the hell were you buying up there? You were late, right? Okay, now flip the picture. Hold on one second. Flip the picture, right? And go back over here. And go, okay, now if I'm a calmer mind, I'm Ron, right? Maybe I'm wrong. I'm looking and go, you know what? I'm not overlapping value. If I can hold above 68.11, I have a pretty good chance of breaking those sellers, right? So we're absorbing and we're pushing out against those guys. I have a good chance of absorbing those initial sellers. If I can hold above 68.11, right, and I can hold that first half hour low, right, and okay, so what's happened? I've stopped one time into the upside, so that's one favor in advantage of the shorts, right? One edge in front of the shorts, right? And now what does the short have to do? He's praying that we get back underneath 68.11. He needs that badly, right? My long is playing against the 68.11 1/4, right? And he's going to go, you know what? I know that guy's selling, but I'm going to play that we're going to be able to grind up against him and push to the upside, right? That's all you have early in the morning to work against, along with that volume point of control, which is the other key metric in this area, right? So my plan is right now, as long as we're holding above that value area, I'm actually looking for a long side trade. So I want to see a push up and then a test back against my last best seller, if that can occur. And that's where you will find me trying to get along. And as long as we sustain above 68.11 you're probably going to see me try to push that long today. And I'm hoping that setup comes after the first hour. Preferably we chop people around in two-sided action here and whip them up and down. If we just go and break and don't come back, I'm out of luck, right? And again, because the location worked, right? I was able to pinpoint the exact area I wanted to get for a trade via looking at my delta, okay? But then, so then it goes back to the last piece that's very important, my emotional control. I've already decided I'm not going to trade the first half hour today. Why? I want to get myself together after I do this. I want to make sure that I'm calm and relaxed. And I know trading right now, even though there's a large reward, risks me personally of going on tilt. I simply do better through the course of the day. I'm calmer and better when I push out past the first half hour to trade, right? I'm not crazy about trading the first half hour. Some people love it. I don't. Why? What's my goal through the course of the day? To find my very best setups where I can put the most amount of leverage on for the least amount of risk. And that tends to come after the first 30 minutes, not before the first 30 minutes. And I know that even if I don't get it today, I'll get it on most days. Okay. So that's my 2 cents, guys. Guys in the YouTube channel, thank you for joining us. If you liked this, if you found it valuable, please hit the like button. Tell your friends about it. Helps me massively with the with YouTube customer service. And so anyway, if you'd like to join us in the room, send me an email at tradeandperform@gmail.com. I'm more than happy to let y'all visit for 5 days. And other than that, that's it, guys. Let's go have a good day. Protect our capital. Nail them when they're giving us the opportunity. Obviously, you can see from that 68, our paper trade from 68, 22, 24, right up in here, right, has obviously paid you 10 points if you took it right out of the gate. I'm not so crazy about taking it right out of the gate, so we'll see what they end up doing. That 68.11 is going to be important for people to defend. And you can see we're just whipping back and forth because we're inside prior day's range. And if we fall back into value, watch for it just to whip back and forth in here, right? Key area is in this white zone. I'm looking for reversal patterns out of this white zone to push back up and hoping for a push back in to get that reauctioned, right? So one timing has stopped. Long side easier than short side. Don't think I have anything else to say, guys. So thank you for joining me this morning. I truly appreciate it.